Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be reacting to Why No One Plays Olimar by Vars 3. Shoutouts to them. I have not seen this video. I'm going into it blind. And yeah, just want to get my thoughts on it.
From someone who was initially considered by many to be an easy contender for one of the best characters in the game to an obscure low-high tier or even maybe mid-tier, Olimar's fall from grace was a slow and steady one throughout Ultimate's timeline, and though he still manages to garner set wins for players like Shuton and Dabuz, Prevailing Wisdom knows how much, or rather how little presence he has, both competitively and literally. Look how cute and small he is. Olimar's one of
That's true, Olimar is really small. True. Oh, whoops, not me.
those weird fighters next to Pikachu where they're really good but lack the popularity that one would expect them to have in proportion to their strengths.
Yeah, I agree with that. Olimar is a pretty niche and obscure character. Olimar is, in my opinion, a character, if you do not know how to fight him properly, and you're in bracket or you're online, he can really mess you up.
Although granted, Olimar is now considerably worse than Pikachu in many aspects, but he has a very interesting
He is now, he's now right where Mario is. This video is a tiny bit outdated because it came out November 3rd, 2023. A little bit outdated, but whatever.
story. So for our next episode of Why No One Plays, we'll be discussing the Pikmin plucker himself. Being good friends with Dabuz, I was able to talk to him about Olimar in detail just like we did with Sora. By the way, shoutouts to Dabuz, be sure to check out his YouTube and Twitch, links are down below. Shuton and Dabuz are really the only two top level Olimar players in the business, but both of them play him as a secondary, reserved for certain matchups as a counterpick.
Uwame? I mean, I don't know if he came in before or after, but for what I've seen, he primarily only plays Olimar. I know he has like a Rob that he plays every now and then, but he's mainly still Olimar main.
Not really a forerunner, believing that
and Candle too, and Candle, forgot about them.
Despite being colloquially agreed upon as a high tier character, he's arguably unviable as a solo character, worse than even some mid tiers in that regard.
I'll have to edit that out.
I mean, we did.
I honestly kind of agree, kind of don't agree about Olimar not being a viable solo main. He is a character who has a lot of really rough matchups. Hero, Zelda, Cloud, Terry, Aegis. That he can win those matchups, not unwinnable. But I feel like a second character, like if you have again, I have the Aegis secondary, it's really good. But you could Myron to put pretty well solo Olimar.
We did have Myron who made us all believers, but I haven't seen that guy in like over a year at this point, and he was the only Olimar one trick at top level. That's kind of the thing about the character. He's very polarizing, demolishing half the cast while getting equally demolished by the other half. And with the current development of Ultimate's meta, matchup resilience.
Interesting take. He's a snowball character. He can 3-stock you, and you could 3-stock in the next game. He's a character who can be in disadvantage for half the game, or be in advantage state for more than half the game. Super volatile. Do I agree with that? Honestly, yeah, I kind of do. But the thing is about Olimar is that even characters who are winning or even matches for Olimar, like Lucas or Banjo or Samus, they can still destroy him if the Olimar is not paying attention. They're just better at the game than them.
Resilience is the cornerstone of a character's viability. For example, what makes Rob a top tier? Because he has a robot.
Because Rob is Goo Goo Gaga brain, and Side B is brain dead, and Gyro is dumb.
Plus matchup spread owing to his various tools. What makes Sonic one of the best characters in the game? Because whether fighting a swordy, a zoner, a rushdown, a glass cannon, a heavyweight,
Alright, I apologize for the Rob hate. I just really hate fighting Rob, that's all.
Fall to basically the same game plan for all of them and win, with only minute adaptations that he needs to do based on the player he's up against. I don't know how many of you saw Proof Block's video on Smash entering late game meta, but he made
I have not seen that video. I should maybe watch
A
it.
nice video on how many matchups there are in this game and how the rate of players exploding off a single mistake is so high that extremely safe and easy characters like Game & Watch, Cloud, and Min will start to pop up
Yeah, Olimar is a character who, if you make one mistake against him, he can absolutely obliterate you.
more frequently to handle unpleasant matchups. Meanwhile, very high demand fighters like Shulk are falling off on account of the need to micromanage, and if there's ever a character who embodies micromanagement, it is without question Olimar. The
big brain for Olimar. You need to micromanage. You're just you have to do it. If you're not doing it, then you're not playing the character properly.
biggest reason why hardly anyone plays him is because he's the most disorienting character in Smash on a micromanagement level. Not the hardest or most exhausting per se, but there are so many aspects to him that give him one of the steepest adjustment curves in the game, but in a different way compared to Rosalina or Ice Climb.
Honestly, I agree with this. I remember one time a while ago, back when I was in, I think it was middle school, sometimes I played Smash there, and I always won with Olimar, and some of the other people who were there they wanted to try Olimar, and they tried him out, and they were like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know how to play the character.
If you take a look at Olimar's moveset, it's deceptively one of the most straightforward out of any character. Forward air swings forward, back air swings backward, up air swings upward, down air swings downward, forward
True.
up and down smash are very cookie cutter smash attacks. All things considered, Olimar is extremely simple from a conceptual standpoint. Complicating his gameplay is, of course, the fluctuating properties of those simple moves. Most of Olimar's relevant attacks make use of his Pikmin, which he can hold up to 3 at a time. He has 5 different Pikmin types: red, yellow, blue, white, and purple. In case you're not brushed up on what each one does, red Pikmin deal more damage on their attacks but have weaker throws. Yellow Pikmin have larger hitboxes and being
Reds are also good for like down throw combos too.
electric, they induce more hit lag, causing them to be safer on shields despite not dealing as much
A yellow Pikmin down smash can really mess someone up if they're not paying attention.
damage as red. Blue Pikmin have more damaging throws, significantly more damaging throws at that. White Pikmin have
Also, again, I'm being a little bit of a nerd here. Blue Pikmin also have a significantly better grab, making it be the only reason you use them, because they can kill like Mario at like 120.
incredibly weak attacks, but significantly longer grab and throw ranges, and deal far more latch damage. Finally, Purple Pikmin have incredible damage
Purple
and
Pikmin make Olimar a good character.
knockback, but have the lowest effective
they're
range of the
really
5 and can't latch onto enemies. This effectively quintuples the number of moves Olimar has. He has 5 forward airs, 5 back airs, 5 forward smashes, 5 side Bs, 5 grabs, 5 throws, so on.
Honestly, I both it's very interesting because I see where they're coming from. That honestly makes a lot of sense, but for like forward air, for example, again, if my opponent's at like 150 and I just want to kill him, I'm like, I don't even need the purple. The blue will get the job done. The yellow will get the job done. But yeah, they all do different stuff. Like the reds do more damage. The yellow's a bigger hitbox. The blue is just an average Pikmin. The white does less, and the purple does a lot more.
And so forth. Each of them have vastly different purposes, to the point where a red Pikmin forward air and yellow Pikmin forward air can't even be considered the same move, despite having the same animation.
That's completely true. They do completely different things. The yellow one's bigger, and the red one does more damage.
One has bigger hitboxes, the other deals more damage and therefore has more safety on shield. Or for example, since red Pikmin have weaker throws, they're actually better for throw combos, while blue Pikmin is better for kill throws. So there's a lot of inherent differences in
see, kills below 100
between Olimar's Pikmin that you have to be aware of. Now, Olimar isn't the only character with fluctuating properties and moves. By that logic, Shulk also has quintupled the number of moves, given he has 5 Minato arts that fundamentally change the properties of himself and said moves. But what makes Shulk relatively more intuitive than Olimar is that 1, Minato arts affect everything consistently across the board. For example, when using Smash Art, he loses damage output but gains immense kill power, of course at the cost of being vulnerable himself. However, this translates to everything, normals to specials to throws. Olimar's red Pikmin, for example, is quite strong without sacrificing range the way purple Pikmin do, but they have the weakest throws. The same goes with purple Pikmin, only the attacks are stronger, the throws don't change, so he doesn't really have consistent properties like Shulk or Steve do. One more thing is that
True, that's true. Although, I don't think he necessarily needs them, it's just harder for someone to pick him up.
unlike those two, the attributes of Olimar's moves change between uses. Anytime you use a Pikmin-related attack, he cycles through his Pikmin lineup, which means you can't spam moves with the same Pikmin over and over.
The only time you can realistically do that is if you only have like, let's just say you die and your opponent's at like 160, and the first next Pikmin you pluck is a purple, you can do it for that, but if you have more than one, you can't do it.
Use forward air with a red Pikmin and then use forward air again, it won't use the same red Pikmin, it will use the next one, be it blue, yellow, what have you. This forces the player to micromanage and keep track not only of what Pikmin they're using for the next attack, but what Pikmin are next in line for subsequent actions. And with so many of his attacks making use of said Pikmin, it basically comes down to a Tetris-style game for him where you have to think multiple steps ahead just for your own move.
Okay, so honestly, I understand where they're coming from, but for me, and maybe other Olimar mains will agree or disagree with me, I do need to think about it, but it's not something that I'm more so when I play, I'm more so focusing on my opponent than my Pikmin. I'm obviously switching them out, like getting rid of blues at low percents, getting rid of whites at high percents, making sure, okay, here's the purple, here's this, here's that. It starts, when you start playing Olimar, it's like the number one thing you focus about, it's still there, but it goes away because neutral, advantage, disadvantage, blah, 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 more important.
Let alone having to think about all other aspects of the game such as neutral, advantage, disadvantage, edge guarding, ledge trapping, and conditioning. Inevitably, you'll run into situations where you're trying to go for a blue Pikmin grab to kill with up throw, only to find out that you inputted one extra button before, which meant you're now using a purple Pikmin grab. In the heat of a match, it's pragmatically impossible for players to have perfect awareness of their order of attacks because all it takes.
Ooh, I mean, yeah, that's true. There actually have been many times where I'm in the heat of a match and I'm playing the game. Last stock situation, I accidentally use an extra button, and instead of being a blue Pikmin throw, it's a yellow Pikmin throw. But yeah,
Is one miscap to.
oh, also, I'm not watching this video to disagree with them because they are making a lot of valid points. I'm just watching it to commentate over it. That's all, and to just give my own thoughts about why no one plays Olimar.
Throw you off your entire plan, forcing you to reset and replan what moves and options you'll have at your disposal for the next, I don't know, 5 or 6 moves. It would be one thing if keeping track of what order of Pikmin came
This
down
is a bad matchup, by the way. Olimar versus Cloud, horrible.
to your own actions, but that's not the case. Opponents can also kill Pikmin, forcing you to dig out new ones which can disrupt your game plan even more. It's not.
That's true, but at the same time, when I purposely, if I want to, I know I'm not trying to sound like a maniac here, but if I want to purposely cycle up my lineup, one of the best ways to do that is to purposely throw them at my opponents so they get rid of them and I can cycle to my next one.
Like Steve to where outside of gold, diamond is the best out of all available materials. Every Pikmin has their own use cases. I know it typically boils down to Olimar players wanting purple Pikmin since they do the most damage, but there are times where you want yellow for hit.
True. I honestly agree that you don't always want purples. They are the best. But there's sometimes some matchups, for example, like for Snake, I would like to have like 2 reds for that matchup, for example, because they're immune to all of his weapons and junk. And when your opponent gets to like 140, 150, it's like, I don't need the purple, just anything but white will do.
Boxes or blue for kill throws. This makes Olimar the only character in the game whose means of beating his opponent are influenced by the opponent. That is, unless you count Kirby losing his copy ability when
It also can be influenced by him, because one of the things that I do and lots of other top Olimars do is they purposely, in the middle of a game, especially when you just take a stock, is purposely get rid of the Pikmin you do not want. As I said, if you've seen any of my clips or seen me play at all, or play with me at all, when I KO my opponent, the first thing I do is cycle out my lineup to get better Pikmin.
when he's hit. At the very least, Shulk has complete agency over his own Monado arts. Overall, it's really hard to memorize and keep track of the order of Pikmin and the cycle of moves that lead to what Pikmin, especially while they're getting killed by your opponent, making him inherently inconsistent by nature, and inconsistency is one of the biggest deterrents for playing a character in any competitive game. You don't want to lose a set that could lead to hundreds if not thousands of dollars in prize money just because you whipped a grab with a purple Pikmin thinking it was a blue one. There are tons of characters of fluctuating power levels, but at least they remain the same for a few seconds and across all moves, whereas Olimar's power fluctuates with each attack. That inconsistency.
That's true, but I don't understand. Again, I'm not trying to be a meanie here. This isn't like the Schaeferless review where they're just making junk up. Well, some junk up. I understand, yeah, that all the attacks, they do change power and stuff, but I don't understand how that's necessarily a bad thing. because Shulk does all of his moves change when he uses his Monado art, and Olimar doesn't do that. It's true. I don't know why that's a negative thing. I mean, it can be depending on how you
And
look at
polarity
it.
extends to everything else about him too, leading to many contrasting
I don't think it's a negative thing.
elements with his gameplay. For one, he's one of the lightest characters in the game, but unlike other super
He's as light as an angel and a god. Oh, and another god. Lol.
light characters who trade their durability for mobility, Olimar is one of the slowest characters in the game, so
That's true. I never really understood why Olimar was so slow. I said this a lot of times. Because in Pikmin, even without like the rush boots in Pikmin 2 and 4, Olimar can get around like the entirety of like Forest of Hope in like 40 seconds. And if he has rush boots on, he can get through like the entirety of Wistful Wild in like 30 seconds.
he's squishy and slow. This means he essentially can't afford to make mistakes while at the same time being forced to go in to secure stocks, as
He can make mistakes. There have been times where I have done a big oopsie daisy, bring it right back, because Olimar is a character who can really bring it back.
his tools for racking up damage can't also be used to kill. Characters like Fox, Game & Watch, Sheik, and Pichu can make up for their frailty with relentless pressure through fast frame data or hitboxes in a way that their offense prevents the enemy from comfortably exerting theirs. Olimar can't really smother opponents. Moreover, since he's so good at racking up damage, that
I mean, he can. If he gets in, again, the best way to play Olimar is to rather be far right from your opponent or right next to them. If you are right next to them and you start getting like purple up airs going or purple side smashes going, you can really rack yourself. I think it's a fair thing to say. I'm not a professional Smash player, but I have more than 1,000 hours of Olimar, so I am more than qualified to talk about Olimar. Oh, and L.
actually backfires on him, since he gives his opponent access to rage more often. It's not unusual for Olimar to get his opponent to 150% before going for the kill, but that also means he can get annihilated during his attempt to close out.
True. That is completely true. That's something you have to think about. But I get my opponent to like 120, 130, 140. There's no point of using Pick Toss because number one, they're already at kill percent. Number two, when the higher the opponent's percent is, the Pikmin will just not be on them for as long.
That stock. His awkward combination of physics and frailty also make it arduous for him to fight opponents with a safe game plan. In other words, Olimar wants his opponent to interact with them and has a very hard time fighting characters with a reason not to. At the same time, he also struggles against opponents who want to constantly interact with
True, that's true.
you, because if he's getting pressured non-stop, he can't play his game.
That's also true. If there's a character who, like Fox, for example, if Fox gets in to Olimar and he cannot play, he can completely destroy him. That's true.
This can cause him to have a very wonky matchup spread with no consistency when it comes to fighting classes of characters. For example, against Rushdowns, he does very well against Pichu and Sheik, but does poorly against Terry and Roy.
Nerd, I would not say does terribly against Roy. I think that's even, but he does do well against Pichu. He does do well against Sheik. He does lose to Terry, but I wouldn't say Roy.
Against Swordies, he beats Violet, but gets smoked by Cloud and Aegis.
Yeah.
Against Zoners, he famously trashes on Samus and can do well against Duck Hunt, Toon Link, and Young Link, but he loses to regular Link. Against General Fighters, he breaks Ness and Palutena in half, but
Honestly, I wouldn't say he breaks Palutena in half. That can still be a little troubling in this. Yeah.
gets crushed by Mario and Rob.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it. What's for Rob, not Mario.
There's no rhyme or reason to any of his matchups, preventing him from forming a set game plan against this group of characters and that group of characters.
Yeah,
Every matchup
true,
basically devolves into how much Pikmin toss affects the opponent. The reason he beats Samus is because Pikmin can secret service a charge shot and missiles for Olimar,
true.
and with that being the quintessential aspect of Samus's gameplay that kind of ruins everything for her. Another common stipulation is if the character can easily shrug off Olimar's Pikmin once they're on them. Cloud is one of Olimar's hardest matchups because
Yep.
Neutraler covers the entirety of Cloud's
Yep.
body and does enough damage to kill all of them, plus Cloud has massive disjoints, he has incredible speed, and he also has a reason
And plus, Cloud forward smashing back can kill like at 50.
to just never interact with Olimar and spam back here. Link beats Olimar
He said it for me. He said it for me. Never interactive Olimar, spam back air.
Thanks to his neutral air being a very easy way to get Pikmin off of him, plus his bomb has an active collision detection, which can also make it hard for Olimar to do his
I'm starting to really grow on the Link matchup. It's not as bad as I once thought. It's still gonna be a little troublesome, but first of all, very few people play regular Link in 2025, and B, the aerials are really bad, and bomb can be annoying, but if you get past that, it's not as bad as I would think they're saying
thing.
it is.
Anyone with a reflector or anti-projectile tool like Wolf, Rosalina, or Incineroar can render most of Olimar's safe pressure.
But here's the thing with the projectile tool. Here's the thing about that. If the opponent is being careless and they're like, I'm gonna just start spamming Fox says, I'm gonna start spamming down B and my opponent can't do anything. Lots of people online have that mindset. It doesn't work like that, buddy. I'm sorry. You can get a jab, you can get a grab, you can get an aerial. But yeah, the reflectors can be annoying, and if you have like a purple F smash and that gets reflected, that can kill you like at 50.
Useless, forcing him to go in and fight against enemies more equipped to fight than he is. And though to his credit, he has fantastic normals if we go by frame data, safety on shield, coverage, and damage.
Yeah, I agree. It always surprises me how off guard still people get with Olimar up smash. That is a really good out of shield thing to do. It always catches people off guard.
Especially with purple, he doesn't have the mobility to use them to the fullest extent. Every time Olimar wants to use an aerial, he has to hard commit to it.
I wouldn't say he has to hard commit to it. I would not say that. There's been times where when I want to kill someone, I just start going by the left and start spamming back air, and I hit him on the 5th attempt.
Funny is that Olimar's aerials are very akin to Roy's when it comes to hitboxes and style of attack.
Yeah, he kind of does play like a sortie. That's true.
But he lacks Roy's movement capability to do the same thing that he does. If Olimar was a fast faller, his forward and back air would be busted.
Yeah,
The polarizing aspect would be how strong he is with the right Pikmin and how helpless he is with the wrong or no Pikmin. Due to his frailty and floating nature coupled with no easy way to shrug off enemy pressure himself, Olimar is one of the easiest characters to keep in disadvantage once he's put in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's true. Olimar's disadvantage can be really rough sometimes, especially as you could literally see here. This MFA is fighting. I don't think it's showing there. A Fox player, and they can just keep comboing them, chasing them down, preventing them getting any move Pikmin, and resetting back to neutral.
Without Pikmin, he's completely defenseless in the air outside of neutral air, and sometimes having Pikmin can be a disadvantage when trying.
Yeah, true. But one thing again, I find very few people expect you to go for Nair at up tilt, and it always catches people off guard, at least the ones I play
to
with.
recover, since additional Pikmin shortens the recovery distance, so you might have to jettison your double or triple purples just to get back on stage.
I mean, that's true. That's true. You do not want to be recovering with like 2 or 3 purples, which I'm almost never in that situation because I plan on having to make sure that doesn't happen. That you almost never have 3 purples. I mean, it happens, but it's like really rare to happen.
Requiring you to
and also, yeah, you have to purposely throw your Pikmin away to recover. I do that all the time.
fish for them all over again. Imagine a world where Steve has to discard his diving tools to recover back to stage. That would actually make him balanced.
They should do for Steve as they do in Minecraft, because he doesn't have to keep inventory on, that when he loses a stock, he loses his materials, but that's a topic for another video.
These inconsistencies ultimately result in many players feeling disillusioned by the character. Most players have the idea that Olimar is a zoner when they look at him, especially if they remember him from Brawl. Olimar isn't really a zoner in this game though. Sure, he can throw Pikmin at you non-stop to
that's true. I mean, he is a zoner, but he kind of isn't either.
Rack of damage, but eventually he has to go in to kill you. He has no way of threatening your stock from a.
Yeah, that's true. Oliver has to go in to kill you. He cannot just camp you out and throw Pikmin non-stop. That will not work. I mean, unless the opponent rage quits, but no, that doesn't
far
work.
enough distance. Olimar may have some anti-zoning tools thanks to his Pikmin, but he himself can't really zone. That was one of the.
Really? I think Oliver's like one of the best zoners in the game, in my opinion. Like on the tier list right now, the only one I can think of who's like objectively better than him is like Min.
Most people actually. I always thought Olimar was his owner, but after the buzz explained it to me a bit, it made a lot more sense. It's funny that Olimar's at his strongest when actually fighting. If you're hitting
Yeah, that's true. Olimar he can scrap. He can really go in and
your
start
opponents,
scrapping.
they can't shake off Pikmin latched onto them, which is often what leads to 2 or 3 hits amounting to over 80% of damage when you have a white Pikmin attached to them and are smacking them with
Yeah, true, like doing purple Pikmin jab block and you have like a white and a blue latch on that will like kill someone really
double
early.
up smash up air. Simply throwing Pikmin doesn't do enough the same way Samus, Mewtwo, or Wii Fit Trainer.
But it leads in this stuff. Like you can, yeah, if you're just sitting,
I can just spam neutral
hold on.
air. Simply throwing Pikmin doesn't do enough the same.
So if Olimar was here, can you see that? I don't know. Can you see this? If Olimar was here, if Olimar was where he is right now, and there's someone I don't know here, yes, the Pikmin will not kill him. I mean, unless it's purple, but like unless he's trying to recover anyways. But the opponent will try to kill the Pikmin that's latched onto him, and then Olimar can go in with stuff.
Same way Samus, Mewtwo, or Wii Fit Trainer can just spam neutral B until the end of time. Everyone approaches him with the mindset that he's his owner, only to be sorely disappointed when they find that he's not actually one. Moreover, Olimar has details that aren't really explicitly told to the player.
Yeah, that's true. That is completely true, and I completely agree. If you do not know that the red Pikmin, the white Pikmin, and purple Pikmin, they're basically completely different things, and if you are not aware of that, I cannot tell you how many games I've won against people who are just objectively better than me because they do not know the yellow Pikmin forward smash is bigger than the red Pikmin forward smash, and it kills them and I win.
Stuff like when Pikmin latch onto an opponent, the damage they suffer intervally actually causes them to have laggier jump squats, landings, and they suffer more hit lag when struck by attacks. I'm being serious, taking damage from Pikmin can cause your frame 3 jump squats to actually be laggier. It may seem insignificant, but that's stuff that would be really nice for a perspective his physical body.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like that was completely unnecessary. There's been times, like I was playing it like 2 weeks ago, and like something hit me. I was like, that hit me? Like,
which can make you get hit by stuff you really shouldn't have. That disillusionment gets compounded by the aforementioned inconsistencies and micromanagement that comes with playing him. Unless you know about it ahead of time, knowing that Olimar has different grab ranges with different amounts of end lag.
I mean, yeah, I played the character, I'm fully aware of that.
Based on what Pikmin he's throwing and how many he has, can deceive people into thinking he always has that grab range, when in reality, it's only if certain conditions are met. So in a way, Olimar kind of lies to the player. He's one of the least intuitive characters in the game, and with first impressions being lasting impressions, people might drop him quickly after finding out he's not who they expected him.
I mean, to be fair, you can't really say, I'm gonna make Olimar after like 2 games.
To be. You would expect Olimar to be fast because he's squishy just like Pikachu, Fox, and Sheik, but he isn't. You would expect Olimar to be a zoner because he attacks the Pikmin.
Yeah, he's really unique. It's painting him a little bit of a negative light. He's like, he's not fast, so he's not like this. He's not a zoner like he's like that. He's just really
not himself, but he's more of a brawler or grappler who just happens to use his weapons as projectiles on occasion. It's very misleading. One more thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Olimar kind of fell off in the meta. Contrary to what his varying properties based on Pikmin might imply, he's very straightforward both in moves and game plan. There's not much fancy tech you could do with him, even though it looks
Wayne Pikmin dash, for example, the whistle, for an example, Pikmin desyncs.
like you would have a lot. Meanwhile, Ultimate has been steadily evolving, even after they stopped doing patches, with players discovering new things about their characters all the time. Also, he kind of got power crept too. After being nerfed hard in the early days of Ultimate, buffs given to other characters as well as DLC has turned a lot of his unique.
I would only say like the primary DLC characters who are like really bad for him is, I would honestly say Aegis is pretty bad for him, and Min. Everyone else, in my opinion, is at least doable, or you don't need a secondary for him.
Unique strengths into common occurrences.
Oh, and I have to talk about the first wave, then Terry, but everyone else is okay.
Everyone knew him for dealing ridiculous amounts of damage, but now almost every fighter
he still does ridiculous amount of
can
damage.
do 60% plus off a single combo, or straight up kill you off one neutral interaction. What used to define him is now ubiquitous. The ironic thing is that the meta is currently progressing towards punish-oriented characters, and Olimar is fantastic at punishing.
Yeah, that is true.
Reckless play. But since he himself is also really vulnerable to being punished and hard, he can get destroyed by a lot of meta-relevant characters like Terry, Aegis, Rob, Wolf, Cloud, Bowser, Kazuya, and so on.
I mean, true. I mean, I wouldn't really throw Bowser in here because that can go either way really hard. Same with Kazuya, but yeah.
Realistically, the best position for Olimar is as a counterpick, but counterpicks
Yeah, that is true. Olimar is a really good secondary. True.
are meant to be easy to pick up since you're investing most of your energy onto your main. You would want to pick up someone simple like Game & Watch or Samus, not a much
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm personally doing. I'm investing most of the time in the Olimar, and then I'm playing the Cuckoo Gaga Aegis. So just I know they're brain dead, and I know blah 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 blah. I know all about that. But yeah, I would say he works as a duo main. Look at Shuton for an example. Shuton does really well with the Aegis and the Olimar.
micromanagement heavy character like Olimar, even if technically he has a simple moveset. He's just a weird character. I feel like changing him from a dedicated
He is. He doesn't fit into a zoner or a grappler. He's like a hybrid character, one of the most unique characters in Smash Ultimate or any fighting game.
zoner back in Brawl to a weird version of a sword fighter might have had the unintended consequence of being even harder to understand. And with how things are going right now, I feel like Olimar's only going to get more and more irrelevant.
I mean, this video is a little bit outdated in that isn't really the case because like Candle doing really well, Shuton's doing really well, Umame like won a tournament like 3 months ago, I think. Shuton made it the grand finals and lost by the skin of his teeth, so yeah.
Although I personally think he's underrated and deserves
So do I.
more credit, but that's assuming anyone feels like playing him over how many other more intuitive characters there are in this game. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know your thoughts on Olimar in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. Thanks again to Debus for helping me with this.
So just final thoughts here. This video, I mean, I agree with a lot of the things I have to say with it because Olimar is a very special and a very unique character. He is not a zoner, he is not a grappler, he's like a mix. He is a character you have to put a lot of time into. You cannot just pick him up in like 3 games, like, okay, I'm gonna make Olimar, and you have no idea that the red Pikmin does this, the blue Pikmin does that. You have to really sit down and learn. Like, this is a character that write university papers on. That is a really good analogy for it. Like, Aegis is a character that you just, I don't know. She's very simple to learn, very simple character. Mithra's faster, Power does more knockback, Power can kill 20, blah blah blah. But Olimar, you have to always know about your Pikmin and stuff. Honestly, yeah, I agree with a lot of the points I have to say, and Olimar is a character who is still there in the meta. He's still holding on, he's still standing. So yeah, thank you so much for, what's their name? Verns3 for making this video. And thank you for watching. The Instagram and the Discord in the description. Check out if you want to for yesterday. Peace.